Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today, let's just say you are going to want to stay tuned for this video because we're going to be discussing today the dangerous severe weather and potentially a severe weather outbreak that'll be taking place across the Central Plains and even across the South Central United States. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for this video, and of course be sure to subscribe and ring the bell notifications, and we're just going to get right into the video here. Starting off with a look at the enhanced Fujita scale. Because I know with all these tornadoes, the potential for a lot of tornadoes coming, I figured I'd just like to remind everybody of what the scales are so you know like what the damage could be like. So for example, EF0, typically minor damage, tropical storm or even weak hurricane force winds of 65 to 85 miles an hour, EF1, 86 to 110 miles per hour. And that goes up to category 3 hurricane level winds with an EF2 tornado. We can see houses damaged, buildings lost in EF3, winds up to 165 miles per hour. And if they close in on 200, that's typically an EF4 tornado. We could topple whole trains, right? Just level places. And then EF5, like entire towns can be destroyed with EF5. I mean, we're talking over 200 mile an hour winds, stronger than like way stronger than a category 5 hurricane can get for sure. So this is just a reminder again of that enhanced Fujita scale. Now, if we take a look at the Storm Prediction Center, all right, let's go take a look at some of their graphics first, then we'll get into some models. And some tornado tips at the end of the video you're going to want to stay tuned for as well. And then of course just like a summary of my thoughts based off what I've been looking at and what you guys could expect, all that at the end of the video, so be sure to stay tuned for that. We're just going to get right into it here though. You can see again marginal in the green, yellow slight, right, and goes up to enhanced, moderate, and then extreme or high in the pink. So moderate is pretty much near the top. This is almost the highest you can get almost in terms of like the Storm Prediction Center severe weather rankings. And that includes places like Wichita, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and even Wichita Falls and Abilene, Texas. Enhanced risk, same for like Kansas City. And even a slight, you don't want to overlook that either. That extends out to like Jefferson City, right, in Missouri, and McCook in Nebraska. Right, so if we move on now, we're going to move on to the tornado threats. This is their tornado kind of like parameter map. And you can see in this area, right, yellow 10%, red 15%. Now you might be looking at that and thinking, oh, well, those percentages, that sounds pretty low, right? Well, honestly, when you're talking about getting a tornado, 10, 15% can actually be, that's a pretty good chance, right? And in that hatched area, right, that means way above 15%. That means there's a significant threat of tornadoes anywhere in those, you see those black lines, that hatched area. So that includes places like, again, Wichita, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, right? All these places in that black hatched area could see a significant threat of tornadoes or even multiple tornadoes. What about the wind? Now the wind, now keep in mind this is for today. We're also going to take a peek at tomorrow because the central, kind of like the Midwest, could see the threat tomorrow, but we're going to be primarily focusing on today because I know today's the bigger, more dangerous threat. Damaging winds across the interior Northeast, even a little slight threat, maybe across the Southeast coast and parts of the Mississippi Valley. But the area we're focusing on here, anywhere in that hatch zone, again, 30 to 45, but in that hatch zone means significant threats of damaging winds that could exceed 58, 60, even 70 miles per hour. So we're talking in this zone, Jefferson City, Kansas City, it's a bigger zone, Wichita, Springfield, Missouri, Tulsa, and even Oklahoma City. Right? So the wind threat, again, primarily focused across the Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri area. Again, damaging winds here could be possible. Taking a look at the hail threat. Right? If we take a look at the hail, again, this hatched area, this extends a lot further south all the way to Abilene, Wichita Falls, even that hatched area. And it's not just a hatched area, right? Even outside of that, there is a chance you could see damaging hail. I think this graphic is like the chances of seeing an inch or greater in diameter of hail, so it could certainly get higher than that. But Abilene, Wichita Falls, OKC, Wichita, all places that could see significant damaging hail. So if you've got, for example, cars that are usually parked outside, if you're able to get them under like a roof, like under cover or like in a garage, if you were able to do that, that would definitely be best here because there's a significant chance of hail like across western Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Now, this is tomorrow, so this is Sunday. I just wanted to give a little quick snapshot. There's still an enhanced threat, so we'll probably see this again tomorrow. Still, I would say it would be almost as bad as today, but not quite. It is a nice large area, though. I mean, we're talking a lot of metropolitan areas in here, right? Nashville, Little Rock, St. Louis, Chicago, Columbus, Indianapolis, Louisville, right? So a lot of places, a lot of towns and cities that are well known here that could be in the threat on Sunday. And so here's Sunday's tornado threat. Again, slightly less, 2-5%, kind of those lower chance areas Wind will be, there's that hatched area again. Wind will be significant in that same area, right? Springfield, Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri, Louisville, Bowling Green, Nashville, all areas they could see some potentially damaging winds and hail as well, right? Even a pretty medium threat of hail in that yellow zone here from Little Rock all the way up into Peoria, Illinois. Now let's get into some modeling. So this is just kind of loop. I'm going to let the loop play out here, and I'm going to kind of break it down. So here's the high resolution model. You can see kind of like the future radar forecast, if you will. And you can see these thunderstorms, right? I mean, it's amazing because like they just bubble up out of nowhere. You think, oh, everything's fine. And then here it comes, right? And keep in mind, look at this low pressure system too. Pretty strong, right? I mean, talking about pressure below 1,000 millibars. We've even got a high pressure back here. So even if there's no severe weather, there's already going to be some strong winds because of the pressure gradients here between this high and this low pressure. And then we're going to add on the winds from the severe weather on top of that. So here these thunderstorms kind of bubble up here overnight tonight, kind of later this evening, 8 to 10 p.m. even Central Time. And then we see them kind of move through the Midwest. So one more time, you can see again, Oklahoma, Kansas, northern Texas. It won't be widespread. It's not going to be like a massive line of storms that's going to take everything out, but they will be large supercells. And I wouldn't say, like I said, not widespread, but not isolated either. I would say more scattered in nature. There's still a good chance that you could see if you were in those severe weather zones that I was just talking to you about, there's a good chance that you could get in on some of these dangerous impacts. Now, here's the cape and the energy, like in other words, the heat energy that really feeds these thunderstorms. And I mean, wow. This is just a high resolution model. I'm going to also talk through the NAM 3KM model, which is another high resolution model. But I mean, wow, just the energy. I'm going to let this restart right now. And you can see it just bubbles up this afternoon, 2, 3, 4, 5 p.m., and that allows those storms to really just fire up out of nowhere. And then as the storms move through, kind of cool the atmosphere, if you will, and everything kind of starts to change. Also notice, let this restart one more time. Notice how the surface winds coming out of the south, and look at the winds from 5,000 plus feet coming from the west. So you have that rotation that's just widespread all over this area. I'm going to let it replay one more time. But widespread, we got wind shear, right? Changing wind speeds with height, changing direction with height, as you can see right here, all across this area. Widespread. So winds coming out of the south again at the surface, coming from the west here at about 10,000 feet, and that could really get these storms rotating and potentially dangerous and tornadic. All right, so here we go. We're going to take a look here at the significant tornado parameter. Same model here, we're still in the high resolution model. Kind of breaks down the probability of seeing some potentially dangerous tornadoes, and you can see based off the key on the bottom of your screen, especially to the bottom right there, you can really see where we have just this threat of tornadoes. Northern Texas, Oklahoma, the threat is just bubbling up here, as you can see. All right, so, and then that kind of continues in through overnight tonight, right? Basically, essentially from like 8 p.m. even Central Time through like 2 a.m., for example. Still going to be going on. We got that threat of tornadoes, and eventually everything will kind of move their way to the east. So this is just giving you a breakdown of like how favorable conditions are for these tornadoes. And as you can see again here, the threat here is looking pretty high. Now, if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation, take this with a slight grain of salt, because again, it all depends on where these storms form. But you can see where they do form: northern Texas, right? Oklahoma, Kansas, spotty areas, right? We can see excess of 2 inches of rainfall. And you got to keep in mind, these are supercells. This is going to happen very quick, in like less than an hour. So yes, maybe 1-2 inches doesn't sound like a ton of rainfall, but when you get it in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that really, the flash flooding risk just makes it all that much worse, right? 1 to 2 inches of rain in 30 minutes is a lot worse than getting it, say, over 8 hours, right? Because it's all about how much the soil can soak up at a time. But look at this, widespread areas, 2 to 4 inches of rain across these, the Midwest there, the Ohio Valley, from Sunday's event. So Sunday's event looks a little bit more rain, a lot more rain is involved here, a lot more widespread, but still the severe weather threat. But that'll be more of Sunday's threat. Now, take a look at the NAM 3KM. Look at this again. These thunderstorms, they just blossom out of nowhere. Right? Again, this is an exact depiction, but this is just an idea of what we could see. But take a look at these thunderstorms overnight tonight, later evening, after dinner, as you're heading to bed. So be sure to listen out for those tornado sirens. Stay tuned to your local National Weather Service for those updates so you don't miss where we could see these potential, dangerous supercells before it evolves, kind of gets wrapped up there in the low pressure system, kind of becomes more of a rain and wind event as it moves into the Midwest. There you can see again, those thunderstorms are certainly blossoming up later this evening. And looking at the NAM 3KM on their Cape imagery, right? Look at this. I mean, the energy looks even more here. Like, it looks like there's even more energy to be had, right? This is surface-based Cape, but you can see, again, tons of energy, even overnight. I mean, Saturday, Sunday is going to be a lot of heat energy. That's going to really help to get these storms going. I'll let it play one more time here. There you go. Right in this area. Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. I mean, you name it. It's going to be a wild ride here. And again, you can still see winds from the south at the surface, right? And then I'll just replay just one more time. Winds coming from the south at the surface, and then here they come from the west at higher elevations. Get those storms to really rotate and produce some potentially tornadic activity. All right, here is a significant tornado parameter on the NAM. So you can see again, Texas, Oklahoma, there is your spot. I mean, really high on the scale here, pretty much at the max. All right, so dangerous tornadoes are certainly possible. Does this mean that they will happen? I mean, it's expected that some will, but just because the significant tornado parameter falls over your area, it just means conditions are really favorable that, if storms move through, right, that they're going to certainly cause some potentially big time problems. All right, here's their rainfall forecast. So again, you can see Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain in a very short amount of time, wherever those storms may fall. Maybe not this exact picture, but where they do fall, the point I'm trying to convey here is where they do fall, you will certainly see a lot of flooding. So as we close out this video here, what can you guys expect in this region, right? In that area, like I just talked about, northern Texas, eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, southeast Kansas, western Missouri. Well, threat level here is going to be about a 7 out of 10, right? I kind of just give it like my own little threat level of like 1 out of 10, how I think how bad it's going to be. I'm ranking this about a 7. All right, this is a potential outbreak here of severe weather. Maximum winds, 60 to 70, could even exceed 70 miles per hour, damaging winds. Hail, 1.5 to 2.5 inches in diameter. So for reference, that's about ping pong size to tennis ball sized hail. Could be possible in the areas where those storms do move over. Rainfall totals could exceed 2 to 3 inches. And again, doesn't sound too bad, but when it's in a short period of time, it is very bad. I mean, localized flash flooding, we talk about river flooding, right? Overflowing drainage, right? All sorts of problems there when it comes to the rainfall and the flooding. And tornadoes. We're talking about several tornadoes, potentially several EF2 or higher tornadoes are expected. And again, that can mean EF3s are possible certainly as well. And just one final thing here, just before I close, just so you know, the tornado shelter tips, nowhere to go, okay? Top floor, right, does not protect you at all, right? We know winds only exceed, or wind speeds increase with height, so going up top will not really help you at all. Right, neither will exterior rooms, right? Anything in the exterior portion of your house, so where these two X's are, not good either, right? But what is good is getting to that basement, right, as far away from windows as possible. And if you don't have a basement, the centermost portion in your house at the lowest point is going to be your safest bet. Again, away from any windows or any glass that could break or shatter will be your best bet here in the threat of a tornado. So that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for the next video. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Till next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video.